I think every creative has an ideal level of media consumption that's best for them. We have to take in new inspiration. It's a need for us. It's like food. But the thing about food is, it matters what you eat and how much you eat and how varied your diet is. Don't let media consumption become a vice you fall back on that makes you feel guilty and lazy. You come home at the end of the day, you're exhausted, you know you don't have the brain power to work, you need to relax and entertain yourself, and that's okay. But when it comes time for downtime, there are two different approaches. Approach number one, you put on some comfort show you've seen 100 times, but you don't even watch it. You pull up Discord, you start chatting, you got phone, Instagram Reels, scrolling, you see your friends hanging out, guilt. I'm so lazy, I'm so stupid, guilt. Not even watching the screen, not even watching this, not even doing that, not engaged in nothing. And after a couple hours, you get that sick internet feeling, but you can't look away. It's just tunnel vision, media, black hole, nothingness, death. You feel better now? You feel rested? Of course you don't. I used to do this, okay? And once in a while, I still find myself doing it. But I vastly prefer approach number two. Approach number two is you make yourself a nice cup of coffee or tea and you sit down and you get all cozy and you say, I'm going to watch that movie I've been planning to watch. And I'm not going to look at my phone and I'm not going to do other stuff. I am watching a movie right now. I am in control. I am making a conscious choice. This is how I, an autonomous being, am choosing to spend the next 2 hours of my life. And I'm going to relax, and I'm going to recharge, and I'm just going to let something else take this brain off my hands for a while. And when it's over, you don't feel gross. You don't feel like a worthless internet slug who just wasted an evening doing nothing. You feel like a human being. You feel healthy and rejuvenated. And you cannot tell me that approach number two isn't an option, but approach number one is. If you're lucky enough to have 2 free hours and a Netflix subscription, you are capable of both. To return to the food analogy, the salad costs the same as the burger. But what if you want to get ripped? What if you're putting in work on a creative project and you want your consumption to not only be rejuvenating, but productive? Well, I think this one's obvious. Don't sit around and wait for your consumption choices to inspire your project. Allow your project to inspire your consumption choices. That way you still get to enjoy the pleasures of media, but in a way that fuels what I assume is your main goal, your project thingy. I was writing a video about romantic relationships and writing. I read The Fault in Our Stars. I'd never read it before. It was pretty good. I got to read a good book, and I got inspiration for my project. My consumption was productive. And I know I sound like a hustle bro, but unless you're some time lord, you and I have the same 24 hours. You probably spend 8 hours resting, another 8 hours working to get by. That leaves 8 free hours, which is extremely charitable. It's probably more like 4. And you're watching a 700 episode anime that you've already seen before? I'm sorry, I'm not judging you. I'm just pointing out the obvious reality of your situation. You're shoveling down comfort media, you're not getting all your vitamins, and you think you're going to have a creative breakthrough? Look, here's a good rule of thumb I use to determine if I should rewatch something. I ask myself, have I extracted all of the inspiration I can from this? Am I going to experience it through a new lens and gain new insights? Or do I know exactly what to expect? And if it's the latter, consider the possibility that maybe it's not worth your precious hours. I know, I'm being a dick. It's because I get it. I've seen my favorite film twice, and I don't watch clips of it on YouTube. I refuse to. If I'm going to watch it, I'm going to watch it. I am going to fully engage with the art. And that doesn't mean I'm going to spend my energy analyzing it. It just means I'm going to open myself up to it, give it my full attention, and let it in. And this is part of the reason I love movie theaters, because they constitute an environment where the film is the sole focus of everyone in the room. It's the same reason I use Panera as an office. This is a space solely for work. I'm using geography to tell my brain what mode to be in. I never work in my bedroom, ever, because that's where I sleep. That is the space for sleeping. And I see some of these dudes with bed, desk, TV, gaming PC, mini fridge, all in one room, and they're wondering why they can't focus. Like, gee, I wonder why your wires are getting a little crossed in the room where you do literally everything. Especially to my ADHD gang, the last thing you guys need is a hyper-accessible Nick Fury display of everything in your life. Go to the park. Walk around, brainstorm. If you have an idea, write it on a notepad. Not the Notes app, that's on your phone, and your phone is where TikTok is. Use a physical piece of paper. It's the one piece of Tarantino advice that's actually stuck with me. Outsource your focus to external pressures. Okay, now I'm going to make fun of the pantsers again. I'm sorry, guys. This is for your own good. See, in my brain, writing has two stages. The first stage is the canon stage. You're figuring out all the characters, what they want, what they need, what they do, the plot lines, how everything weaves together, every single scene, all in this big, soulless Wikipedia article of perfect, coherent information. My channel is basically all about getting through that stage. But then the second stage is execution, where you take that canon and you turn it into art or just the deliverable. You actually type out the screenplay or whatever. You make it resonant, you make it engaging, you make it stylish, all that good stuff. But to the most extreme pantser gardeners on the outlining spectrum, these two stages are the same thing. They're laying the tracks as they go, which to me is insane. Several months ago in this video, I challenged the pantsers to explain what they felt were the advantages of just winging it. And I got a piss load of comments. The whole thing was really enlightening, but there were a few common through lines to the pantsers' answers. A lot of them seemed to think that structuring the story would lead to stilted, forced characters. Because what if you plan for one event to happen, but the characters just don't want to do that? Then you're forcing it. This one doesn't make sense to me because if you plan hard enough, then the seeds for that thing are planted way back in the beginning, right? I feel like most of the alleged problems with planning can be solved with more planning. But there's also the emotional component. Some writers feel that planning just sucks the joy and inspiration out of writing. And I agree. But I have so much fun creating an airtight outline that I don't mind the actual script just being a chore. Clearly, though, we're dealing with different types of brains, and I can respect that. Whatever, do your thing. But this is a video about productivity, how to get the job done in the time that you have. So purely from a productivity standpoint, I'm going to stand by the way I do things. If you think you're ready to open up that blank final draft document and actually write a first draft, ask yourself this. Do you know what happens in every scene? What order are those scenes in? For features, are there at least 60? That's about the lowest number you can get away with. Do you have clear act breaks? Those aren't a must, but I never feel that I'm ready unless I have a clear understanding of the major movements of the story. Are there any huge holes you haven't patched yet, but you just tell yourself, oh, don't worry about that, you're ready, because you're not? The problem might go deeper than you think. You don't want to bake your problem into the story and then realize you can't rip it out without destroying the whole pie. Solve it now before you waste 2 weeks writing your draft. You're not ready. I'm telling you, I've done it. I've done it so many times. And this is why structure matters to me. Without frameworks, without theories, without tools, whatever you want to call them, you have nothing but your instincts. And most people, myself included, don't have powerful enough instincts. If we want to operate in the professional world, if we want to work with anything remotely close to efficiency, we need a plan. Okay, let's talk about collaboration. You will probably run out of steam, and you'll probably need a creative partner. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Seek out a partner who complements your style. I'm a hyper-efficiency marketing dude who's very good at problem solving, but not very good at organic idea generation. So I know that the type of partner I need is a scatterbrained auteur overflowing with what ifs and wouldn't it be cools. But if that's you, maybe you need someone like me. As for how you find a partner, well, maybe the internet isn't all bad, but take initiative. You won't find your creative soulmate on the first try. If you keep DMing people, you're going to find someone. If you go to school, look for the other writers in your community. Form a writer's room. If you internalize this idea of the lone wolf genius writer who locks themselves in a room for years to complete their masterpiece, you're going to get really discouraged when your brain stops braining. But you don't have to do this alone. Maybe the breakthrough you're looking for is going to come from someone else. Accept that. If your project is some super embarrassing secret thing you're not ready to show anyone, suck it up. You got to fight through that anxiety. Besides, they're all going to see it eventually, right? Finally, all of this comes with the caveat that with creative work, sometimes you will be waiting a long time for the missing piece to pop into your brain. I have no strategy for brainstorming other than to actually do it. Like, set aside time to pace and think. New ideas are like vampires. You gotta invite them in. That's all for today. Just a little vloggy vlog type video. Sometimes my ideas are aided by goofy MS Paint illustrations, and sometimes my ideas are very general and visualizing them only leads to clutter. This video is one of those. I'd still like to hear people's thoughts on the plotter-pantser spectrum, specifically if you're a natural architect who found the value of gardening, because that's a leap I never see. But the next video is gonna be about axe structures, it's gonna be a cool one, and then beekeeper movie. Shout out the patrons, shout out the ceaseless march of time for filling me with purpose, showing me that my life is finite and that I mustn't waste my precious years on this earth, and shout out the peanut butter pretzel bites from Kroger. Y'all, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe. Now it's laser time!